They called it the Anarchy, 19 years of it. In 1135, England's king died, and for 19 years after, there was no rule of law at all. You were never taught this. There's a reason. You know 1066, you know the Battle of Hastings, maybe you know 1215, Magna Carta, the barons and their charter. But between those two dates sits a black hole, 19 years erased from the timeline like they never happened. A king died. His daughter should have inherited. Instead, England collapsed into something so brutal that the monks who lived through it said God himself had abandoned the country. And what they buried isn't the war. It's why the war had to happen and who made sure you'd never ask. Henry I ruled England for 35 years. Strong king, firm grip. Then in 1120, his only legitimate son drowned when a ship called the White Ship struck a rock off Normandy and went down in the dark. Henry had one heir left, a daughter. Empress Matilda. He forced every baron in England to swear an oath, swear it twice, that she would be queen. They swore it. In 1135, Henry died, and within weeks, every single one of those oaths was broken. A man named Stephen of Blois, Henry's own nephew, crossed the Channel, reached London first, and had himself crowned. Not through combat, through speed. The barons who'd sworn to Matilda simply let it happen, and that's the first thing that should bother you. An entire kingdom's nobility broke a sworn religious oath on a corpse barely cold and faced no consequence. Matilda didn't accept it. She had her own claim, her own army, her own half-brother backing her with force. England split in two, and that split didn't produce a war between armies. It produced something worse, a total collapse of central authority for 19 straight years. Here's where it gets stranger than two rivals fighting for a throne. With no strong king to stop them, barons on both sides started building castles without permission, hundreds of them illegal fortresses thrown up overnight, each one its own little kingdom. The chronicler at Peterborough wrote it down himself in words that survived 800 years. Christ and his saints slept. He meant it literally. He meant God had stopped watching. Inside those castles, men were hung by their thumbs, suspended in pits lined with sharp stones that cut deeper with every breath. Locked in boxes too small to stand or lie down in, the chronicles call them crucits, torture chests built specifically for extracting money from peasants who had none to give. Whole villages emptied out. People fled into forests to starve rather than face the men in the castles, and that's not even the strangest part. But here's what doesn't add up. Historians have known about the anarchy for centuries. It's not a secret discovery. It's sitting right there in the Peterborough Chronicle, in Latin sources, in castle ruins scattered across England to this day. So it wasn't hidden. It was something worse than hidden. It was quietly dropped from the story England tells about itself, the tidy version, king to king to king, a clean, unbroken line of legitimate rule. And a 19-year stretch where legitimacy meant absolutely nothing doesn't fit that story. It contradicts it. Here's the buried why. The entire idea of monarchy, the entire reason people accepted being ruled by one bloodline, rests on a myth. The myth that kingship is natural, ordained, inevitable. That the crown passes cleanly because it's supposed to. The anarchy proved, in the bluntest possible terms, that the crown belongs to whoever's fastest, richest, or most ruthless in the moment the old king dies. Even the church took sides for political convenience, different bishops crowning different claimants, sanctifying whichever side served them. 19 years of proof that the whole system was invented, built on oaths that meant nothing the second they were inconvenient. That's not a story you tell in a curriculum built to make monarchy look stable, ancient, and legitimate. It's easier to jump from 1066 straight to Magna Carta. Skip the part where the country ran on torture and broken promises for 2 decades. The gap looks cleaner that way. Once you see it here, you start seeing it everywhere. Every kingdom, every empire, every institution that claims an unbroken line of legitimate authority has a version of the anarchy buried somewhere in its own timeline. A moment where the rules turned out to be nothing but agreement. Agreement that could be broken the instant someone had the nerve to break it. What else in the history you were handed got smoothed over the same way, for the same reason? And if oaths meant nothing in 1135, whose oath are you trusting right now?